Mcree's.
We in there. Push Street right here.
Mcree's.
Big shout out to Beats By Jblack for coming through. My guy.
Hey man, thank you for having me, brother.
We about to hold this thing down.
Oh,
the community asked questions, and I wanted to make sure that we do, a review that's proper to the community. You know what I'm saying? I know the hip hop community has questions and kind of want to bring some insight. I know there's been some things that's been said and
controversies.
Yeah. So we're going to clarify a couple of things for sure. The first thing, everybody asked this question, so I'm pretty sure you already know the answer to this. How is the sampling? The timing is.
How is the sampling? The sampling is phenomenal. I think it's one of one. The sampling right now, that time stretching, or just the way that warp. There's no engine right now. I'm calling it right now that's beating it. I can choke that thing all the way down to something that's a BPM at 120, and I'd put it at 60 BPM, and that thing it won't lose.
And that's with the non-destructive chopping in the simpler device, right?
Yes, inside the simpler. And you're gonna see that when we start messing around with that feature. It has all the same features as if it was connected to a computer. So going through all the different modes. But when you have all the different warp modes, as far as you get the beat, the complex, the complex pro, and all that stuff like that. So all of it's right there, and it works just as good if you're hooking up to a computer. If not better, honestly, I think. But you'll see. I don't want to ruin that.
Another question that we all of us hip-hop, electronic music heads in general, by the way, we want to know about that pad quality. And as a guy that be destroying pads, how do you feel about these pads?
So these pads are really good for this new MPE system that they got going on. It's MPE.
You wiggling your fingers?
Yeah. That's really. But you know what's really dope is I knew how to do the pitch blends and all that stuff like that, and I learned that pretty late. But this is the easiest damn device you can do that on. You can stay on note. So you can give it any type of tail, any type of solo.
Yeah, because you can scale lock.
You can skip exactly. I will say, and this is the biggest thing that I like about the Push 3, and it might be kind of off, but not really. I've learned way more features just with it being standalone that I already didn't know that can already do. So if you already have the Push 2, I always tell people, if you have the Push 2, this might be a subtle upgrade just due to the extra battery and all that stuff that we're gonna get to later. But as far as the same chopping and everything, where everything is, it's exactly the same. Like nothing is changing there. So when you go to the scale, is there more than an MPC there when you see all the different?
As far as like scales, and this is just my knowledge of the Push 2. The scales, they have a lot of scales, but the Kai has the exact same scales. Like those are like the general scales and stuff like that. So, in matter of fact, if we're just talking about the Push 2 onto the Push 3, you have the ability to actually add progressions and stuff like that. You can add more progressions. So any of the Kai standalone ecosystem is one the same, whether it be the Force or the MPC in that regard. So it does have more progressions. Like I can pull up R&B stuff, or I can go and do some Afrobeat joints, you know what I'm saying? Or I can have like some contemporary jazz, any kind of jazz, you know what I'm saying? And at just one finger.
Yeah.
So you know, but Ableton, for those who don't know, Ableton does have the ability for you to write progressions within the software,
easily.
And I'm pretty sure
within the standalone too. Yeah.
Sound quality. The house, the converters, all this thing. Is it like a PC 3000? Is it like the 3000 or no?
You know, we need to run that test, the Push 3 versus the 3000. I think it sounds good. All right, so I will say this. For what I'm going to use it for, right? I like this because this is now an instrument. This is no longer a controller. We're sitting here. This is plugged up. We can plug some headphones into it or just plug some audio jack and get the repping. You got all these new packs, Ableton's great sounds that you have on there. Now it's an instrument. The reason why I'm saying that is comparing the drums. Yes, this is more of an electronic machine, so it's not going to give you that grittiness as even with the new MPCs, even with what we have. Because with the MPC, I'll say the MPC still sounds. I'm not even going there. I'm not going there.
Yeah,
we'll leave
that alone. We'll leave that alone.
Right.
I think that again, down to converters and stuff like that. I would not complain about any modern day audio interface. Period.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is I'm not using this thing for drums. I'm not going to use that for drums, and that's what I would say. I'm not going to use this at all for drums. But the output of this thing does sound amazing. When you're hitting those synths and you're in the C kind of messing with all these louder, everything inside of it that it has, it's going to do a really good job of just that electronic, now modern sound. If that's what you're looking for. So, for sure.
Yeah, I remember for days, just when I originally got my Push 2, there was a lot of things that I was like, oh, I'm loving this. Like, it was just a nice breath of fresh air, and what just pushed me to the edge. Well, I just wanted to try something different, and then that different ended up being the lifestyle of just standalone. And I'm satisfied with both. I never sold my Push 2, and I think the Push 3 would be a great replacement for the Push 2. Right. Price point. So everybody's arguing that the price point of this is insane. So we have to honestly talk about like the value with that. Yeah. So what is your opinions as far as the value per what you get?
Yeah, so we're talking price point $2,000 for the fully loaded bad boy, and about $1,000 for the standstill bad boy that you can upgrade later. I think it's definitely worth it. I I thought they're gonna hit him over the head with the 25 hundo.
Yeah, I think that would be justified, honestly.
I think so too. It just shows this is Ableton. And how long has the Push 2 been out?
Forever. I don't even know the date.
Forever, ever. And you can take the 4 off it, just ever. That thing been out for a while. So when they put this thing together, they really craft something that's gonna be. They're already saying like 5 years from now. So this is it. This is it. And they built this thing to last, and you feel that. I mean, this thing is heavy.
Yeah, it's very solid. Yeah, it's a very solid machine, and they didn't change too much of the ecosystem, and that's very important for anybody that is old school user base. Like they didn't change anything with the workflow or anything like that. But like God's honest truth, the main thing that a lot of people need to know is the fact that Ableton was a software company first. So they made sure that they mastered the software on the DAW. The profit margin is much higher in that regard. And, you know, we was to look at other companies and whatnot. They haven't got to that DAW stage where they can perform at a level of like an Ableton Live or whatnot. Ableton's been around for a while. So them jumping into this was right on time, I think, honestly. As far as like upgrading and stuff like that, I think that's where the community will kind of, you know, pick apart about, you know, them like if you can add another processor in there. And that was one of the things that I saw too, that people were pointing out, that the processor is an i3 processor off top. Like the default processor is an i3, which is like equivalent to the iPad Air, which but the other thing that you have to understand is that when companies write software or whatnot, and they optimize for that those particular specs. Right. So with that optimization, you have to keep that in mind. It's not always about power as it is about usability and knowing what you're going to do with this unit. Speaking of which, the arranger. Yeah. It doesn't have an arranger on it. Now that made me pause with my Akai Force sale, because you know that was the biggest thing about the Akai Force. Like people were upset about the Akai Force not having an arranger day one, and trust me, hey, I 100% respect the community for being so loud about that, because you know you want to finish your beats, even though you could like import it into Ableton Live. That's not what everybody wants to do, right? You know, so it's new, it's early. We'll see what they're going to do in the future, because a lot of people are going to want that. And then
a lot of people already been saying that. Yeah, I've looked on, because you know we're some comment lookers, and I've seen a lot of people on the Ableton page saying, yeah, you know, I hope they put an arranger in there, looking for the arranger. It's definitely something that can be capable, and with the upgradable abilities in the future, maybe that's something they can update, and that can be. Now I don't see how that would be with no touchscreen. I don't know how that workflow would be and how smooth that would be. But I can see them doing that. But then you have just like the Maschine. You have people who love the Maschine exactly the way it is too. Like you know, there's a lot of people who got the Maschine Plus, and I was one of them who had the Maschine Plus first. Before I had an MK3, and I'm talking about, I wish I had a touchscreen, and you guys, and we're basically taking the MPC to something else, and people are like, I don't need that shit. Like, I've been working, I like this workflow. The touchscreen's gonna throw me off, you know what I'm saying? So
for sure,
I think it's one of those things where people have been getting so much out of how this machine is now. One of the things that people just want to be portable with it.
Yeah, I just like the fact that, you know, every company is starting to jump into the standalone world. Competition is nice and healthy. Yeah. And I don't want every machine to be identical to the next machine. Right. I don't mind if the MPC isn't like, you know, the Push or the Akai Force, and you know, and I'm glad that the Push 2 is his own entity. I'm glad that the Maschine Plus is his own entity, because you know, as someone that likes to rock on most of my instruments, I'm pretty sure you share the same sentiment, right?
Yeah. Right, absolutely.
Yeah, if everything is exactly the same, then what's the point of putting things out? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, this, and I said this right here is a instrument on its own. Like I'm so happy to have this, just because I can see how this is gonna work in tandem with the MPC. Like the MPC is always gonna be my drums, you know, but this right here makes me sound like I can play so much, and I really can.
For sure.
And just with the abilities for me, you know, you have them too. We have a whole bunch of cool keyboards, rolling phantoms, you know, all kinds of synths and stuff like that. And the fact that you can control all that with here, use the sequencer and all that, and actually because I can play crazy chords on the Push, and then you hit that slide control too, and everything's staying in key.
Yeah, everybody, like, this is a performance piece. Yeah. And when you have that amount of control, it gives you a reason to be an artist outside of just making beats. Like a lot of us, we make beats all the time, but it's different when you bring a stand. And this is no diss to anybody that likes DAWs, by the way. It brings a difference when you can perform it live. Okay. As you see, this brother rocks on freaking Instagram and has done amazing things beyond anybody's expectations.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
So
yeah, I think that's really important, and that's what they did here. They thought about. They knocked out a lot of people here. They knocked out the performer. They knocked out the at-home producer. Because we didn't even talk about just a little bit of the, we'll probably get into it later, but just like the features like with the jog wheel. I know when I had the Push 2, the Push 2, the what makes the MPC, when I had the 2500 or even the 2000, the jog wheel is everything. You know how important that jog wheel, just hearing that click and that, you know what I mean, that thing. So with them putting that on this, gives it that comfortability and it starts, you know what I'm saying, and then already using it what they did was they put more buttons on here, so not everything is really just a screen, but you actually have the button. You have to
which kind of messes up the Roland SP404 Mark II. Like you have to remember a lot. Like you have to remember a lot. Even with that new update, is fantastic, mind you.
Yeah.
But just remembering stuff, muscle memory, you can build it, of course, but when it's right there at your access and you ship this, that, and that's kind of the great thing about design from a mechanical engineer standpoint. You need to understand who's going to touch it and how they're going to get around.
Right.
So you didn't have any issues with that at all. For sure.
Yes, I definitely. Like I said, it's all about how you're going to use it. And when I first had it, I will admit, and I think that we do this with all equipment, we're looking for our MPCs inside another device. I'm very guilty of that. I was like, when I had, shout out to the people at Ableton team, where they actually dropped this off to me. So they dropped it off with the whole. It reminded me of back in the days, like you remember we used to buy vacuums in the days, and they actually had somebody like demonstrate the vacuum. That's what it felt like. They dropped this thing off, had somebody break it down, and I'm asking all the questions as if this is my workflow on the MPC. How do I, access this from accessing this? And one thing that this does, and it's really cool that because when Maschine came out, Maschine did that thing where you can update. This is before Kai did it, where you can update straight on the machine. Because out the box, you had to connect it to the internet, and I thought that was mind blowing. I was like, damn, with the MPC, I got to connect it to the. Damn, it takes so long. So then,
and that caused a lot of issues. People were like, "Oh my!" Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. If you had a MacBook, you was in hell. Oh, you was in hell. Yes. There was no coming back. Yes. But even with me doing on the PC, like, I was like, man, it's an easy process, but Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi update. So Maschine brought that, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like I've never thought. Oh, and then not even that. The packs that you can download, Maschine packs from Wi-Fi, and I was like, yo, this is nuts. And that you can do that on here.
And you can do that on here now too. And I was like, yo, why can't MPC do a thing? We can download the expansion from a store. But hey, we're talking.
It could be coming in the future or something like that. Damn it.
Delete all of it.
Oh man.
But all right. So like what we're saying though, that's what makes that machine special. I'm like, okay, wow, you can do that on this machine. Same thing with this right here. This right here has a AI name generator. I'm not gonna call it. They said not to say this, but it's some type of random name generator in here. And what it does is you can there's a built-in save button. You just hit save, and it's gonna come up with a random name for your project based off what it hears that you're doing. And I'm telling people that's so important because that's half the reason why we either keep a beat or either dispose of it. Because like, you're making a beat, and then when they ask you, do you want to save this? And you're like, do I really want to go through all the files?
Yeah, you don't like my file, David? My brother was your output? He's like, one.
I just date the motherfucker now. I just date it. I date it and then put hot.
Yeah, you put hot or no, I ain't cool with that.
You know what I'm saying? But this right here gives you some real cool names. So just little stuff like that it kind of gets that creativity going. But it always keeps your projects. Another thing is like what does it do? I just blanked out.
You good.
Oh, The control. This is what I've always wanted. The control for the actual game. You can, if you tap in, you can control the headphone. If you tap in, you can control the output. You can control your master output.
Kind of like Universal Audio's workful with
yes, just like that.
Yeah. That one.
That's
I saw that on
crazy.
When I saw that on the solo, I was like, kind of getting down with this shit.
Yeah, so you control your headphone. So for us, for me, I love the iRig. So when I'm shooting videos on that, I got the output out here, but the iRig, if I like the iRig to be a little bit more hot and crispy, I can adjust that separately,
And the iRig gives you a sound. It gives a character. By the way,
it does.
It actually does.
It does.
I'll be joking.
It does. No, it does. Let me ask you this: Does the machine have a separate output for the headphone?
Yes, it does. It does. It has a separate output for the headphones. I mean, like I don't even want to go too far into this converter, this thing, and that and third, because
it's getting real dangerous.
It's crazy out here in these streets, but like it sounds good to me. And this is just saying it just to say it. At the end of the day, you're gonna put it to an engineer. You're gonna give it to an engineer, and the engineer's gonna mix it and all this other stuff. So, do we really care about the character that we're not gonna get? Because it might be a good character to us, but the engineer, they're gonna, bruh, like, trust me when I say this. Yeah. I might not have platinum plaques, but I definitely have placements, and I know some of the best engineers in the biz. And they will make you make that beat again if something's wrong. Third-party VST plugins.
No.
That was so fast.
No.
I gladly know.
Yeah, but not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. But I think you would know from working with so many VSTs and how their separate companies have their stuff on lock. Like Isotope has its own thing. Waves, we're not even going to talk about Waves.
Damn, man. CLA, dog. That was my shit. The CLA bundle.
I know.
I still use it. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn.
So
glad everybody stood up.
I think it's going to...
CLA kind of saved. But,
That's real. But, I think it would be something that... Here's the reason why I'm not tripping about that. Ableton by itself already has amazing VSTs and plugins, that just by themselves.
Yeah, their device system is second to none.
Already.
Yeah.
There's been times where I'm mixing already Ableton's plugins with some of my good, you know what I'm saying? I'm using their EQ, I'm using their multi-compressor is crazy.
Oh, you talking about OTT?
Yeah.
Yeah, OTT is disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting. That's a slap it on the master and crank it up. You're gonna get a whole lot of character out that thing. You can't if you mess up with OTT.
Their limiter is good. They have a lot of stuff they already that you can straight out the box. You throw it on the master chain. You're eating. So.
Yeah, and to be honest, like when it comes to rocking with any plugins or any whatever, like. The Akai ecosystem, glad that they have that now. Yeah. And it says a lot when you have the stock stuff inside of there and then being able to expand. There's no question. I know that Ableton's going to expand things and it will be coming to the standalone.
Right.
And all the like, even Maschine, what it was, clearly everybody wanted the package. They wanted what is it called? What do they call the package?
Complete.
Yeah. So everybody wanted the complete package. It didn't really happen, but it was great. It was good enough.
It got massive. Right?
Yeah.
It's like massive.
It has tons of sounds. It has some of the best sounds in the game. I feel like, and the same could be said about.
A lot of people would agree about that. I would agree about that. I actually said that the first time I touched the Maschine Plus. I said, yeah, the sounds on this is probably some of the best out. You know what I'm saying? You can take that. You can take the sound. I think I said that too. I was like, if I could take all the sounds out of the Maschine and put that into the...
It took Akai a minute to catch up. Tube Synth was okay at best. But the Fabric, thank God for the Fabric collection, because
Fabric is crazy. Fabric is crazy.
Yeah, that's
Fabric XL.
That's the only thing I really use out of that. And they got some good stuff, but that Fabric XL saves lives. And then when they added Hype Synth and
the Moog on there. Now.
Oh, jeez, Lord.
Yeah. They got
so
the Moog on there. So it's doing this thing.
Yeah. So have you tested this out with outboard gear?
Well, my only outboard gears I have.
Like keyboards and stuff like that.
No,
No,
I
not yet, not yet.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
and I saw. And speaking of which, I did see that you have to buy the MIDI jacks. I was like, oh, come on now, Ableton. Now don't start that Electron bullshit. Like I saw that, and that's kind of discouraging. But at the same time, you
don't have these laying around though. We have so many of these.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan, but I saw that.
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, because I remember seeing some laying around in the box. Well, mine came in the box actually. Now I think about it, I was like, wait, I think I got those.
Hey, look.
Delete all that shit.
Privilege. Hey, it's a privilege, guys. Hey, look, it's a privilege.